uh, we went to clubs and all that. So I started using it as my entertainment. The Negroes come talking, and instead of, because you would think I must look like a damn fool. What he just told me. Now the other people, you know why it's so much killing? Because they take it like the lie is so ridiculous that they say the guy, you must think I'm a fool. And then they shoot him or have him shot. That's why so many, not me. Before he get anything worth anything, he gonna be done brought back thing after thing after thing. So if he owed a quarter ounce, for a quarter pound, 4 ounces, and he bring back only 2 ounces worth of the money. So, well, that's about it, I said, since you're a nice guy, I'm going to give you enough for 2 more ounces that you paid for, and now you're going to have to bring back all 6 of those ounces with that. And guess what? They would just about do it. So we never had a reason to hurt nobody. So by the time he run off with something, and then you the best deal in town, he had to go get somebody else to go get something from you, right? One of his friends. And his friends going to cheat him automatically. Right? But they know it's automatic, Yeah, man, he gave me such and such. And then he done cut it all up, and then he take it to him because he can't come to you because he owe you. Right? Well, he don't really owe you nothing because you done got your money back 100 times when he cheats you. And that's what I said, you got to kill you killed Johnny Boy, man, what's wrong with man? That's why the Vice Squad used to like me, because I they could sit in the office and eat donuts and drink coffee all the time. They didn't have to go, because it wasn't no killings. During my administration, that's what I call it. Shoot, we had knocked out the murder. It wasn't, I don't even remember nobody getting killed. And I said to my homeboy before he passed away a couple of years ago, I said, we never even beat nobody up, huh? He said, yeah, but we was ready. I said, okay. But we never even, can you imagine the kindness operation? So when we put kindness on that, we did kindness in the worst type of business you could imagine. I mean, we have experience with it. So anyway, that was our experience. So anyway, homeboy would come out and visit me and say, man, we got so much money in the trunk. And I'd look all around, you got all that money in that trunk? Because when I left, we was making, say, $10,000 or $20,000. You would say, man, I got 50 grand in the 50 grand in the trunk. Good God Almighty. You ain't, what? And I'm looking all out the window, the jailhouse window, the visitor sitting by the window. So let's sit by the window so we can see the cars. But anyway, so this thing, a setback, is nothing but a setup for a comeback. Goes back to those days. It goes back to those days. Because now the blessing was, although we were black orientated and supporting black nationalism, some of the people, when you see their picture, you could recognize who they are. We can't go and see them anymore. I don't know what the laws are up that way. But, like if you've been a convict, you can't go hang out with no convicts in some states. They'll put you in a penitentiary just for that. And you don't know what the deal is somebody made to get out. And that's basically what your friends will tell you. Man, I made a little da-da-da-da. Okay, no problem. In other words, I was sitting in there for 30-something years. Ain't nobody did nothing. So, da-da-da-da. No, I'll be good. I would, all that stuff. So being good means I won't be around nobody that they got the whole list. You can hang around, here's the whole snitch list. You can be around all of them. But so-and-so, no. Anyway, a setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback. Now, these words are actually from a guy here in D.C. If you look up Victor Jolly, can you look up Victor Jolly? Jolly, I think it's Jolly. Yeah, I think it's Victor Jolly. Willie Jolly. Willie Jolly. Yeah, I don't know where Victor came from. Willie Jolly. Now, this is our theme all of our life. But he just, I heard him say it. I said, that boy, I like the way he sounds. A setup is nothing but a setup for a comeback. In the life we live, in the street life, people was always making a comeback. They get big, and they get to partying, and then they kind of go broke, or they pimping and somebody steal all their women. You know what I mean? All kind of stuff, And then you got to make a comeback. But you would watch people, and like a rubber ball, when you throw it down, it just bounces back. You could throw it down and be ready to catch it. But after you do that so long, it loses its bounceability, elasticity. It don't bounce back too quick. And that's the way the Negro was. Some people would get lucky and hit they whatever they did, and they would spend that money. They would never get back. Some had the game down that if they got big and they was snorting a little blow and stuff like that, and like you can imagine if you snorting blow and it's $100 a gram, a spoon, a little tablespoon, teaspoon. That's the way we measure teaspoon. And that little bit of blow, and you can do that. You can snort up that blow and just like that, And so people would go broke. They'd get big, and then they'd go broke, and then they'd have to crank back up. That's why there's stuff like a setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback. Because like a fighter, like my friends was fighters. And I was saying, I made my comeback. My first comeback was in January the 1st, 1972. I left Europe. I'd been to Africa, and I left Europe. So I'm going to make a comeback. Now, when I left, you wouldn't believe it, but a guy called me a year and a half ago or more, on my 75th birthday. I haven't seen him. Last time I saw him was the train station in Hamburg. We was going back to Copenhagen. Now, of course, I know how he got the number and everything. I didn't even know him that well. Yeah, man, you know who this is? I said, not really. I have, technically, I don't have no idea. This is so-and-so. And I'm in the Starbucks. And talking loud. And my kids saying, Dad, you got to quiet it down. Because I'm saying, yeah, man, at the train station, last time I saw you was at the train, you talking loud, right down there. Man, that was in 71. Into 71, because we'd spent Christmas at your parents' place down in K-Town, Kaiserslautern. It was an American base, and his people was in it. One was a sergeant in the Army, the other was a sergeant in the Air Force. They was married. Yeah, man. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I didn't ask him how he got my number or how did he know I was still alive or anything else after 50 years, after all the stuff I done been all over the, and he just called in. I guess maybe Boss Man had him call. I would be willing to bet that. I mean, 50 years? Yeah, the last time I was 50 years back. How he gonna get in contact with me? And he sounded like a wino, you know, because the boss man, he don't pay snitches a lot. He hire them, they be on a temporary basis. And the people, they used to be snag-a-tooth, you know, like the guy that helped kill, he didn't kill Malcolm, but the guy that was on the police force, you ever seen him when they interviewed, he had snag-a-tooth and everything? Okay, this guy was on security when Malcolm was killed. And they interview him on TV. He got a snag-a-tooth and everything. They don't take care of these snitches. You know, I mean, it's temporary basis. They hire them on it. Anyway, let me get back to the point. The Great Recovery. This was not what we were doing at the time. This is 9 years ago. But this is projected in ahead of time so they could come out from stop us from doing this. Let me explain it again. This is 2012. We playing with them. So we putting all of this stuff out. We putting this stuff out. But this is not our plan for them. This is to make them move, which they did. They come out in a hurry. This is 9 years ago. Yeah, 2012. And it goes on to say, Imam Musa's story of tenacity and endurance begins in the 1960s as manager of the biggest, most well-organized black mafia-type organization in Northern California. In the early 1970s, this organization transitioned into becoming a financial supporter of black liberation movements in exile. Not the ones here, but the ones that had to leave. From Algeria to Tanzania, and those were the focus points. After years of leading the first and only multi-million-dollar African-American managed cocaine smuggling operation from Bogota to Medellin, Colombia, to the USA in the late 70s, witnessed its voluntary closing down. Voluntary closed down, that's it. In fact, just a secret. When we closed down the operation, I didn't send out no memo to everybody that says it's closed. I got paperwork. I was staying in Mexico. We would send the blow from Colombia up to Mexico because we knew Mexico well. So the capital of Sonora, the state below Arizona and all of that, is Hermosillo. So I would stay in Hermosillo. Now, Hermosillo's in the Sonora Desert. You know, when you already black, but you got to wear a black V-neck T-shirt and where you could see, you could be like tar baby, solid black right there, and then brown everywhere else. That's how hot it was. It would be like, hey, like Arizona, except a little hotter, you know. That's as hot as you can get. I mean, still be in this hemisphere. Anyway, so the idea was, you know, you get pretty good at we used to call it the Negro route. And other people started using that 10 or 15 years later, from South America to Mexico and from Mexico into the United States. They would fly big planes and crash them in the U.S. with blow on board back in the 70s and 80s and all of that, But we didn't do that. Every time we did a deal, we got bigger and bigger and better organized. So my job was to go up to Mexico and have, spots along the border. Have a central location and send up blow, blow, blow. And every now and then across the border from here. Across the border from here. And if you send a shipment from here and it got busted, which you never did, so what? You got all the rest of them. It don't make a difference, right? So